Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Lamb. Here's a preview of some of today's top stories. An ambulance struck in the Gaza Strip. What Israel says about the incident, as the U.S. Secretary of State addresses civilian casualties with Israeli leaders. APEC summit is just around the corner. Federal and local officials plan to clean up the host city of San Francisco and address the fentanyl crisis. In the Israel-Hamas war, an ambulance from the main hospital in Gaza was struck. Palestinian sources say it left several people dead. NTD's Jason Perry has the details. And a warning, this report contains footage that some viewers may find disturbing.
On Friday, another deadly scene shook the streets of Gaza City as crowds of people were seen running in all directions. This time, an ambulance was struck. A spokesperson for the Hamas-run health ministry blamed Israel.
We announced to the world that this convoy is heading to the south at 4 o'clock, and we informed the related parties, including the International Red Cross, and we asked the Red Cross to escort the convoy.
But Israel Defense Forces did not deny responsibility for striking the ambulance. The IDF released this statement on Telegram. An IDF aircraft struck an ambulance that was identified by forces as being used by a Hamas terrorist cell in close proximity to their position in the battle zone. A number of Hamas terrorist operatives were killed in the strike. We have information which demonstrates that Hamas's method of operation is to transfer terror operatives and weapons in ambulances. The IDF also emphasized that the area is a battle zone and civilians are repeatedly called upon to evacuate south for their own safety. But even after the IDF's repeated warnings, Palestinian civilians still remain in the area. Secretary of State Antony Blinken flew to Israel on Wednesday to speak with Israeli leadership about the issue of civilian casualties. And he also noted that Hamas uses civilians as human shields.
We provided Israel advice that only the best of friends can offer on how to minimize civilian deaths while still achieving its objectives of finding and finishing Hamas terrorists and their infrastructure of violence.
The IDF previously reported that Hamas headquarters are located beneath hospitals, including this one at Al-Shifa Hospital. On Friday, the IDF released a recorded conversation of an official in the Gaza healthcare system, also mentioning Al-Shifa Hospital. The official went on to say that if he tries to take fuel to the hospital, Hamas will take it. Jason Perry, NTD News.
After meeting U.S. Secretary Blinken, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu ruled out a temporary ceasefire, despite calls for humanitarian pauses. Blinken also met with Yair Lapid, leader of the opposition in Israel, and stressed Washington's commitment to Israel. In the U.S., protesters in Oakland, California tried to block a ship reportedly preparing to set sail for Israel, carrying military supplies. Protesters also sat outside several senators' offices in D.C., demanding ceasefire in Gaza. Now, let's take a look at other top national headlines today. The judge in charge of former President Trump's 2020 election case has set some important dates for jury selection. Judge Tanya Chutkan told special counsel Jack Smith and Trump's lawyers to make a list of questions to use for screening potential jurors by January 9th. If they can't agree on certain questions, they must inform the judge in a joint filing, explaining each side's position. Potential jurors will come to the courthouse in Washington, D.C. and fill out the questionnaire on February 9th. Both Trump's lawyers and the prosecutors can look up information about the potential jurors on the internet, but they can't talk to the jurors directly and they can't use non-public databases. Meanwhile, Trump's legal team is appealing the partial gag order placed on him by Judge Chutkan. The attorneys wrote in the filing that no court in American history has put a gag order on a defendant who is in the middle of campaigning for public office, especially not the leading candidate in a presidential election. More information about the FBI's raid of the home of a top fundraiser for New York City Mayor Eric Adams. It comes as part of an investigation over an alleged kickback scheme involving the Turkish government and a Brooklyn construction company. Mayor Adams weighed in on the raid at a press conference yesterday.
I owe my campaign to the highest ethical standards. Any inquiry that is done, we're going to fully participate and make sure that it's done correctly. I have not been contacted by anyone from any law enforcement agency, and that's why I came back from D.C. to be here, to be on the ground and look at this inquiry as it was made.
According to law enforcement, the raid was connected to a broader public corruption probe. It aimed to establish if money was illegally funneled to Adams' 2021 campaign for mayor. The raid was purposely conducted while the mayor was out of town, according to the New York Post. The Post reports that the investigation focused on gathering evidence of foreign funds entering his campaign through straw donors. According to the warrant obtained by the New York Times, agents were looking for evidence of the theft of federal funds and wire fraud. One of the world's biggest shipping firms is laying off thousands of more workers during the holiday season. Maersk said Friday it plans to cut 3,500 jobs, most of them in the next 8 weeks. The Danish company already let 6,500 employees go this year. Maersk says less demand and lower prices have tanked its revenues, a sign the pandemic-driven shipping boom is over. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos says he's moving from Washington to Florida. He's called Seattle his home for almost 3 decades and will soon go back to Miami, where he lived when he was younger. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
Seattle, the place it all began for Jeff Bezos and Amazon. On Thursday, Bezos announced he'll be leaving his home of 29 years to go back to Florida. The news came on Instagram, where he said he's planning to leave the Pacific Northwest and return to Miami, saying, quote, "My parents have always been my biggest supporters. They recently moved back to Miami, the place we lived when I was younger. I want to be close to my parents, and Lauren and I love Miami." Lauren is his fiancée, Lauren Sanchez. He also said, quote, "Seattle has been my home since 1994 when I started Amazon out of my garage. Amazon is now one of the largest and most influential companies in the world. And according to Forbes, Jeff Bezos is the second wealthiest person in America with a net worth of $161 billion. Bezos also said his space exploration company Blue Origin's operations are increasingly shifting to Cape Canaveral, which is a few hours north of Miami. Jason Blair, NTD News.
As the meeting between U.S. President Joe Biden and China's leader Xi Jinping approaches, San Francisco officials plan to tackle the fentanyl crisis. Federal and local officials promise to address the drug epidemic even after the APEC summit meeting.
Federal, state, and local officials announced a joint initiative on Thursday to go after fentanyl dealers in San Francisco. The initiative, dubbed All Hands on Deck, brings together resources of the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the FBI, and various state and local agencies in the city. U.S. Attorney Ismail Ramsey said the program targets individuals who sell fentanyl in the city.
It is not like any other drug that we've encountered in the past. It is cheaper to make, it is easier to transport, and it's deadlier. And so it's something that we as a nation have to realize that we need to address it.
According to San Francisco's chief medical examiner, as of last month, fentanyl has been linked to 506 accidental overdoses this year. Portions of the city, specifically the Tenderloin and Soma neighborhoods, have become known for open-air drug markets where fentanyl has been sold and used openly in the streets. The initiative specifically targets those areas.
As challenging as this threat is, we know there are 2 organizations primarily responsible for flooding our communities with fentanyl: the Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels. These criminal enterprises rely on a global supply chain from chemical companies in China who supply the cartels with precursor chemicals, which are then manufactured in Mexico for distribution throughout the United States.
The initiative includes ramping up arrests of street dealers and suppliers who sell near federal buildings, conducting regular joint federal and local on-the-spot arrest operations, fast-tracking federal cases, and bringing federal charges against drug dealers, among others. Mayor London Breed said the efforts are here to stay, especially during and after the upcoming Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit this month.
Our goal is to do everything we can to ensure the safety of the residents and the people who visit and live in San Francisco and work in San Francisco, especially the Tenderloin and the Soma community, that they have safety too.
U.S. Attorney Ramsey added that tackling the fentanyl crisis is a nationwide priority for the Department of Justice. Last week, San Francisco said it is expanding its jail in San Bruno to accommodate the growing prison population following more arrests. The increase comes after the city decided to crack down on drug dealing and street crime.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come right back. California voters to decide on sports betting. The push for legalization has become a debate among tribal groups. The newest and final song from the Beatles, coming soon. It features John Lennon's voice with the help of AI. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Lamb. An update on Southern California's late season blaze. Firefighters in Riverside County's southern area continue to battle the Highland fire and making steady progress. NTD's Stephanie Sakal reports.
The fire expanded nearly 2,500 acres, with containment increasing from 25% to 50% as of Friday morning. The fire ignited on Monday near Highlands and Awanga Ranchos Road, burning 2,487 acres. Cal Fire opted not to use air tankers on Thursday, citing unnecessary need after a helicopter scan on Wednesday. Although strong winds have challenged efforts, an increase in humidity on Thursday is expected to aid firefighting. A public safety power shutoff was lifted on Wednesday, allowing some residents to return home. 16 structures, including 3 homes, were damaged or destroyed, with 1 firefighter injured. The fire's cause remains under investigation, and over 2,300 structures are still at risk. Evacuation orders affected about 4,000 residents, and a care center is available at Great Oak High School, along with pet accommodations at the San Jacinto Valley Animal Campus. Stephanie Sakal, NTD News, California.
Also in California, voters may get another chance to decide on legalized sports betting in 2024. NTD's Christina Corona has more on the story.
Documents filed last week would enable the California governor to negotiate agreements with the Native American tribes for both in-person and online sports wagering. 2 ballot initiatives have been proposed, with the Tribal Gaming Protection Act and Sports Wagering Regulation creating the framework. To qualify for the November 2024 ballot, both initiatives must collect 875,000 signatures within 180 days. Both of the new initiatives have tribal in their names, but it appears that California's Native American tribes are not directly involved, causing frustration among tribal representatives. These initiatives were introduced by Reeve Collins, a CEO for an online gaming platform, and Ryan Tyler Walls, a founder of an online gaming and money company, although they haven't publicly made a comment. The California Nation's Indian Gaming Association said in a statement, decisions driving the future of tribal governments should be made by tribal governments. They go on to say, while the sponsors of these initiatives may believe they know what is best for the tribes, we encourage them to engage with Indian country and ask rather than dictate. In 2022, most tribes opposed Proposition 27, an online gambling measure, as it threatens casino-owning tribes' finances. A few casino-less tribes support it to combat poverty. Meanwhile, ESPN is entering the sports betting arena with the launch of ESPN Bet, as announced by its parent company, Walt Disney Company. This move comes as Penn Entertainment transforms its Barstool Sportsbook into ESPN Bet, following a $2 billion deal inked in August. The app is set to officially debut on November 14th. ESPN Bet is set to go live in 17 states upon its initial launch date, pending final approvals. Christina Corona, NTD News, California.
Tesla revving up its assembly lines with the ambition of unleashing hundreds of thousands of Cybertrucks per year. NTD's Christina Corona reports.
Elon Musk revealed Tuesday that Tesla's goal is to manufacture 200,000 units of its electric pickup truck, the Cybertruck, annually. Previously, the company had stated that it had the capacity to produce over 125,000 Cybertrucks per year, and Musk suggested the potential to increase that number to 250,000 by 2025. The deliveries of the much-awaited pickup truck will begin on November 30th, almost 4 years after it was first unveiled by Musk at an event in Los Angeles. During that event, the head of design accidentally cracked the vehicle's armor glass window with the metal ball while demonstrating a series of tests to the audience. During a recent appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, Musk shared the challenges involved in manufacturing the Cybertruck, saying, "Our goal is to produce approximately 200,000 units per year at the production stage, maybe a bit more. But I cannot stress enough that the manufacturing process is significantly more challenging than the initial design." Musk also said the company faced significant challenges in scaling up production and making it cash flow positive. However, the battle between Tesla's Cybertruck and Ford's F-150 Lightning pickup is on the rise. The standard range F-150 Lightning can tow up to 7,700 pounds, extending to 10,000 pounds with the 300-mile extended range battery. The single-motor Cybertruck tows 7,500 pounds, and the dual-motor model also tows 10,000 pounds. But the basic trim levels of these trucks begin with nearly identical $40,000 price tags. In November 2019, Elon Musk shared on Twitter the Cybertruck pulling a Ford F-150 uphill. Christina Corona, NTD News, California.
Amid the electric atmosphere of the Big Apple, the New York City Marathon has taken center stage. NTD's Carlos Reyes has more on the story.
The curtain was officially lifted on the New York City Marathon this week as crashing world records have brought supersized attention in a blockbuster year for the grueling distance event. Ethiopian Tigist Assefa shattered the women's marathon record in Berlin in September, lopping off more than 2 minutes from the previous best, clocking in at 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 53 seconds. Just days later, Kenyan Kevin Kiptum beat compatriot Eliud Kipchoge's world record mark on the men's side with a stunning 2-hour, 35-second win in Chicago. While another record is unlikely on Sunday, November 5th, after all, New York's rolling hills stand in contrast to the flatter courses of Berlin and the Windy City, the falling records have brought an extra buzz nonetheless. The Kenyan former world record holder Bridget Kosgei will make her Big Apple debut after 5 previous major wins. Meanwhile, her compatriot Sharon Lokedi mounts a New York title defense. Here's what Lokedi had to share ahead of her race preparation.
It's been a life-changing. It was a great experience, and I'm really excited that I'm back here again, and looking forward for Sunday. And I'm just happy that I have company here and I have support, and I'm healthy and excited to race.
Rounding out a fearsome Kenyan foursome are Paris Jepchirchir, who made history when she broke the tape in Central Park months after picking up Olympic gold in Tokyo, and Boston Marathon champion Hellen Obiri. Kenyan Albert Courier, who won in 2021, Tokyo Olympic silver medalist Abdi Nagiye of the Netherlands, and last year's second-place finisher Shura Kitata are among the highlights on the men's side, along with the 2022 world champion Tamarat Tola. The Ethiopian Tola produced a sensational 2-hour, 3-minute, and 39-second race in Amsterdam 2 years ago and said he had already set his sights on the men's world record. Regardless of who the winner may be, the NYC Marathon promises to be an exhilarating race. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Wrapping up the night, the Beatles are set to launch a new song featuring John Lennon's voice, generated by using artificial intelligence. Here's NTD's Stephanie Sakal with the details.
The Beatles, a British rock band, was widely regarded as one of the most influential and successful bands in the history of popular music. Their music is known for its innovation and versatility, spanning various genres from rock and pop to psychedelic and experimental. Now, with a new project ahead, Universal Music revealed that the last Beatles song featuring John Lennon's AI-generated vocals will be released alongside the band's 1962 debut UK single Love Me Do in a double A-side single called Now and Then.
It's the last song that my dad and Paul and George and Ringo will get to make together.
A short film, Now and Then, the last Beatles song, directed by Oliver Murray, premiered on the Beatles YouTube channel, offering exclusive footage and insights from band members Sean Ono Lennon and filmmaker Peter Jackson. The video explains how AI was used to separate instruments and vocals in the recordings, including the original tape of Now and Then, recorded as a home demo by Lennon in the late 1970s. The song also includes contributions from surviving members Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and the late George Harrison. Peter Jackson highlights the technology's ability to split different components into separate tracks based on machine learning. Stephanie Sikal, NTD News.
Before you go, remember to fall back this weekend. Daylight saving time officially ends on Sunday at 2 a.m. Now, that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for David Zhang. Have a wonderful weekend.